Hello everyone and welcome to the big one. This is it, the first round of the Enduro World Series 2021. We are here in the beautiful Dolomites for the Met EWS Val di Fassa Trentino in honestly one of the most stunning places I've ever been. My name's Ric McLaughlin. Joining me today is the EWS Sports Coordinator and former pro racer extraordinaire Ruaridh Cunningham, and a man who is no stranger to the stages himself, Rich Payne from GMBN. Guys, how are you getting on?
It's my first time here, Rick, and I'm blown away by it. It's absolutely breathtaking, and the course, I mean, the races are in for a treat.
Rich, first time here yourself?
Yeah, likewise, first time here, so excited to get on up there. I mean, what a venue, what a setting to have such an amazing race come to. So I'm really looking forward to see what the race is going to hold.
So yeah, Ruaridh, last time we were here was back in 2019. You actually missed that race, but I mean, the sort of legend of it went a long way, didn't it? It's been a very popular venue with the racers.
Yeah, I remember watching the footage and the photos that came out of it and being kind of stunned by the landscape, and to be here in person, it's even more dramatic than it looks in the pictures. I mean, it's breathtaking. And the course as well, I mean, the riders are in for something really special this week.
Well, before we get into what the riders are going to be looking forward to, let's get into the schedule and see how this race is going to shape up, because we are actually on the verges of history here with the first ever back-to-back EWS race. So we have racing from round one on Wednesday. That's going to be a full course, 4 stages of action for you. Then the riders will take part in what is going to be the pro stage. This is a pro-only rundown, one of the stages on Friday afternoon. And then Saturday, 4 stages again for round 2. Big week ahead.
Yeah, big week, big tracks, big mountains. I mean, yeah, and you know, we're in Italy. It's not exactly mild weather. It's going to be hot. It's going to be physical. It's going to be a tough race.
Yeah, too right.
Ruaridh, just in case anybody is tuning in for the first time, their first bit of Enduro World Series action, what is Enduro? Break it down for us a bit.
Enduro involves a number of time special stages that accumulate to a total race time. The fastest overall time wins. The stages are accessed by links known as liaisons. Usually uphill, usually involves riders pedaling between stages, but when we're here in the Dolomites, we might throw in a couple of chairlifts here and there. Now the liaisons aren't timed, but there is a time limit. If you miss your start, you begin to incur time penalties, and your chance of a good result ebbs away. To be good at Enduro, you've got to be the complete mountain biker. You've got to be fast in the descents. The other fascinating thing about Enduro is managing your equipment. That balance between managing it physically and managing your equipment. You get a flat tire, mechanical, you have to be able to fix it. You've also got to be able to carry all your food and water for the day. You have to be the master of your own surroundings.
Well, Rich, I can see you're obviously a Zen-like master of your own surroundings. What for you is the toughest thing about the Enduro World Series?
I think it's being able to run a really fast pace for the entire time of the race, or the stages at least, but not at such a consequence that you damage your bikes. It's being able to finish every stage, but at 100% really. You know, being able to push that entire time, but make it through all the stages to the end. I think that's a real skill.
We've got a course preview to film, and you're going to have to follow him, and you may find yourself pushing things you never thought you had to push before. But so let's have a look at that course now. Canazei Stage 1 Titans, one of the best trails you'll probably ever ride in your life, and it's 2.1 kilometers in length. North Wave Stage 2, Chiasatis is the shortest at 1.24 kilometers. Trentino Stage 3, Animal House is 3.41 kilometers. And finally then the big one, Met Stage 4, Tutti Frutti, an absolute local legend of a trail, one of perhaps the most physically challenging we'll face this year. It's the Queen Stage. Ruaridh, what's the Queen Stage?
The Queen Stage, Rick, is the most iconic, the toughest, the longest trail in the event. In this case, Tutti Frutti, up on the ridgeline here behind us. It's epic. I mean, it's long, it's physical, it's fast. It's got everything, and that's what we look for.
It's staggering, isn't it? It literally goes from up way behind, over that peak there, all the way back around into town. And is the big challenge with stages like that, Rich, is it the sheer sort of physical abuse you're taking on the way down?
It's just the overall physicality of a stage like that. It's the length, it's the roughness, it's managing your bike for such a long time that it just takes its toll. It's the longest stage, it's the toughest stage, and well, it's the reason it's the Queen Stage.
Let's talk about our heroes then. I mean, 2020, like a lot of international sport, we were affected by the COVID-19 global pandemic. First race of the year in Zermatt, Isabel Carderie. I mean, she was really the dominant force in the pro women's field for some time. I think 2019 her title year, she only lost a handful of stages that whole year. First race of 2020, she came out of the trap swinging. She took the win in Zermatt, and then we all kind of thought business as usual, but it didn't pan out that way, Ruaridh, did it?
No, it didn't. I think the domination we'd seen from her in 2019, it was no surprise to anybody that she won the first round in 2020, but she picked up an injury somewhere between Zermatt and Pietra, and although she raced Pietra, ultimately Melanie Pujan beat her. She decided to sit out the last round, focus on 2021, focus on her recovery, and yeah, since then, things haven't been that easy for her.
No, and obviously over the off-season, unfortunately we saw on social media the passing of her father, making things very difficult, recovering from such an injury as well. So it's going to be really testing this very first race of the season. We're seeing where she is in relation to previous performances and how she's going to match up against the rest of the field. Yeah,
you get the feeling that a win this weekend would be a lot more to Isabel Carderie than simply points in the bank. But I mean, I'm really excited about this year. The pro women's field, I think we've got a depth of speed and talent that we have never seen before. I mean, before 2020, we had an established big three really of Isabeau, GT Factory Racing's Nogla Carem, and Rocky Mountain Race Faces, Andriane Lanfey and Ado. But Ruaridh, I mean, it feels like even those top 5 spots, top 10 spots are going to be hotly contested this year.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, the 3 riders you named before, we saw Morgan Shar and Melanie Pujan taking debut wins last year. There's so many. You've got Ella Connolly, who was on the podium last year. Bex Barona's been strong beginning of this season. Estelle Charles had her first podium. I mean, it's the deepest, the kind of talent pool's been in the women's field as far as I can remember, and it makes the racing that much more exciting because there are about 10 women who you feel could win one.
Interestingly as well, we've got Hattie Harnden moving up from the junior ranks, the under-21s, into the pro women's field this year. She was already setting stage times that, had she been in that class last year, would have comfortably seen her inside the top 5. She's had a busy off-season. She's a multi-discipline rider as well. She rides everything, she races everything, and she does very well at just about every discipline. Rich, are you expecting podiums from Hattie this year?
I think she'll certainly be a contender for that top 5 sort of spots. I mean, the young guns are definitely coming through in the women's category. There's some names in there that maybe weren't challenging last year or the year before, but I think, like you said, there's a few girls in there who are definitely going to be disturbing the old guard for sure.
Let's just talk then about the big story, I guess, that dominates the pro men's field, and that is the return of the king. Sam Hill is back. We didn't get to see any of him in 2020 due to travel restrictions as a result of the global pandemic. Ruaridh, I don't know about you, but it kind of feels to me that it's going to be normal service, isn't it? If you're going to win the Enduro World Series, you're going to have to beat Sam Hill.
Yeah, I mean, the champ is back. I mean, what can you say about Sam Hill? Unfortunately, we didn't get to see him race last year in 2020, but knowing Sam like I do, he's going to be fired up. He's not here to finish second. He wants that 4th title, and anyone that wants to win it is going to have to pry it from his hands.
There was a bit of a social media flex the other day. Did you see? Yeah. Did you see that, Rich?
I did see it. Yeah. He was, you got to watch out for him.
He changed his profile picture to him holding the 2019 title. There was no individual titles last year, only team titles up for grabs. But Sam's quiet, but he doesn't do anything by mistake. I'm sure that was sort of meant as the opening sort of shot across the bows.
Shots fired, wasn't it?
Shots fired. But let's talk about 2020 pro men's field. Rich, it was all about Jesse Melamed, wasn't it, with those 2 wins?
Yeah, I mean, unofficial overall, if you like. The guy was on fire. He was in a slightly different class, I think, and I think he's going to take so much confidence from that last year, carried into this season. So if anyone can challenge Sam, he's definitely well up there to be one of the guys.
Well, Ruaridh, talk about social media, the clip that Jesse Melamed posted the other day. He's going like a train, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he needs to remember that the race is this week, not last week. I mean, that'd be a start. But like you say, Jesse was the class of the field last year. Yeah. I think what's always plagued him is never being able to put a season together. But, you felt last year there was an air of maturity with him, I think, if he figures things out and he can string race after race together in the same speed and pace that we saw last year, is there someone that's going to go the same speed to match him?
You talk about someone who's good at going very, very fast. We can't not talk about the guy who won here last time that we were at this corner of Italy, and it was the 2-time champ Richie Rood. He's back this year. I met him in town earlier, said hello, and yeah, what these stages, this is Rood country, isn't it? This is where he can go fast.
Yeah, it's big, it's physical, it's fast. I mean, everything that Richie enjoys. A commanding win here in 2019. Another rider like Sam who didn't race last year, so he's going to be hungry for it, and it just makes the prospect of racing that much more exciting when you've got Jesse in form last year was so dominant, and then you've got your multiple time champions and Sam and Richie coming back who didn't. I mean, it's exciting.
It's my fault, isn't it? Rich, what are you expecting from Rood this year?
Beast mode engaged, isn't it? He's just, you know,
does it still count as beast mode if you only have beast mode? Because that's kind of what it feels like for Richie. Like, yeah.
He has no other modes, does he?
He does.
Just all or nothing. And what I'm really excited to see is that a lot of the guys, they've not raced against each other for a long time, so they've got no gauge as to where Sam might be against Richie, against, you know, Martin and stuff like that. So I think he's just going to come out swinging. He's going to come out all guns blazing, no holds barred, absolute.
Well, I think as well we need to talk about the only title that was up for grabs last time out. It was the team's overall championship, which was scooped by Pivot Factory Racing. Led to victory by player-manager Bernard Kerr, and Morgan Shar's win obviously helped in Finale Liguri with that. But they also got a load of points from Charlie Murray, who has since departed for Specialised Racing. Ruaridh, how do you see the sort of off-season moving and shaking? How do you think that's going to shake out in the teams overall?
I mean, it obviously makes a difference. If you want to win the team overall, you have to have a strong lineup. You know, last year they were bolstered not only by Morgan Shar and her win, but yeah, Charlie was a real dark horse. He was kind of like an undercover agent for them, if you will. He kind of came in a bit unannounced, scooped a load of points, and ultimately was probably the difference. You know, I think it's a difficult one. I think there are quite a few teams that could win it. I think if Jesse can maintain his form, we saw ALN here in 2019 finish second. So, you know, if Jesse's going to be going for the win, if she can be on the podium, Remy Govan, the third rider in that team, he's a top 10 guy. So, you know, a team like that's going to be strong. I mean, who else do you think is going to be?
Well, Specialised Racing, Rich, we should talk about them as well. Newly sort of, I wouldn't call it a new team, a sort of a reboot or a rebrand, call it well. Charlie Murray. They've got Kevin McKell, like the last 3 or 4 years, one of the most consistent. Right. Sophia Wiedenroth is in there as well. Where do you see them shaking out this year?
I think they'll be contenders for sure. I think they're a new team, so it'll be interesting to see how they're all going to get along with each other, how the team dynamics works, but also sort of the behind the scenes of the team, the running of it. You know, like I said, they're a reboot, so they'll be learning new things, but I'd certainly expect them to be right up there, and I'm sure they wouldn't want anything less than that either.
Well, talking of teams and technology, we are very, very lucky this weekend in that we have GMBN Tech's own Andrew Dodd with us all week. Doddy is going to be sniffing out the latest bike tech, the latest race machines from the pits themselves. Let's go to him now. Doddy, what have you found so far?
Yeah, thank you, Rick. As you can see down here in the pit zone, everything's still being assembled. It's a bit frantic down here right now, but I've already seen what appears to be some pretty exciting bikes from Norco, Da Vinci just over there, and of course GT. So you might expect to see something new popping up this week. We've also heard talk of some prototype tyres being tested, so I'm sure there's going to be loads of cool tech to check out. So don't forget to check it on GMBN Tech this week.
There we go. Just a reminder then, tune into GMBN Tech all weekend. Doddy is really in his element down in the pits, I think.
He loves it.
Hoking through people's toolboxes and having to look around the place. But let's talk, before anyone has even turned a wheel on a stage in 2021, prediction time. Ruaridh, pro women, pro men, who are you going for? This is binding as well. This will last the rest of the year.
Pressure.
Okay, so pro men, I've got to go with Jesse Melamed. I've got to go with the guy in form. I think he was so fast last year. From what I've seen, he hasn't slowed down any this year. You know, with Richie and Sam sitting last year out, are they going to have to dust off the cobwebs a little bit? That's what I'm banking on. So I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Jesse for the men's race. For the women's, this is a tough one, but I think I have to go with Isabeau. She's the only rider in the field that is an EWS champion, and I think that's quite important.
Rich, go on, put you on the spot.
Jack Moyer and the
Jack
men's.
Moyer,
dark horse. Dude's been looking fast on like social and things like that. I think he's chomping at the bit.
Okay, pro women.
I need Ella Connolly. Yes, you heard it here.
You'd have good odds on these bets, mate, I tell you.
Yeah,
You could visit the bookies before you left the UK or something, right?
Yeah, Ella Connolly for the
Very
women's.
good,
Yeah.
very good. In my professional opinion, for what it's worth, I think pro women, I'm going to side with Isabeau because I think you've always got to back the person who's done the most winning recently, and I think Isabeau's just a class act, and I don't want to bet against
Proven
her.
champion.
And in the men's, I'm going to go for Sam Hill, just because I've been knocking around bike races for a while, and the one thing that you learn is that you never bet against Sam Hill if he's at a bike race. Or it could be Richie, or it could be Jesse.
You can only choose one. You can only choose one.
So we'll edit this to whatever I said and whoever wins. But listen, guys, thank you very much for joining us this evening. You're going to be around all week to help us cover the race. And of course, stay tuned to GMBN as well as the Enduro World Series channel and GMBN Tech for all the latest tech goings on. Don't forget you can follow all the racing from the Met EWS Val di Fassa Trentino right here on GMBN as well as on the Enduro World Series channels and GMBN Tech for all the latest tech goings on from Dotty. The guys and I will be here throughout the week enjoying the racing. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you then.